Balance Doctor. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Be sure to subscribe to The Kim Jacobs Show right on YouTube. Turn on your notification bell to all so you never miss a beat. And guess what? Every time you watch, you're going to receive a real relevant and relatable guest that's going to share with you a piece of the puzzle on this journey called life that will help you be able to manage just a little bit smoother. At the end of the day, the Kim Jacobs Show goal is to be able to provide balance to the world, one household at a time.
Kim Jacobs Show. You're watching Kim Jacobs Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show. We are so excited to be here with you today. We have Mr. Darryl Ellis. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Thank you for asking. Happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy to have you here with us. Listen, we're going to have a great show lined up for you. We have Mr. Darryl Ellis, who is going to be talking about the importance of organ donation and how organ donation saved his personal life. So I can't wait to hear his story. I encourage you all to go ahead and grab your virtual seats and let's get started right away. Listen, tell us where you're visiting in from. Let us know. We'll pop your comments up throughout today's broadcast. And as we kick today's broadcast off, I do want to introduce you to Snow Legal Group. And if you have a personal injury need of any sort, you or friends or anybody that you know that's dealing with personal injury, give Snow Legal a call and let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. We'll be right back and we're going to learn about this great man who's a living testimony of the importance of organ donation right after this commercial break.
I'm attorney Kenneth D. Snow, and at the Snow Legal Group, justice is our job.
For more than 20 years, Attorney Snow has been fighting for justice and winning cases in the Carolinas by providing aggressive representation in criminal defense, domestic violence, family law, serious injury, and wrongful death. If you've been injured or lost a loved one in an accident, including tractor trailer or rideshare, you need the Snow Legal Group by your side, fighting for justice and fighting for you. Visit snowlegal.com. Call 704-358-0026 for a free virtual consultation. Located at 6827 Fairview Road, Suite D in South Park.
All right, everybody, and we are back with Mr. Darryl Ellis. I'm going to share a little bit about him, and then we're going to hear from him directly. He's a Navy veteran, and he led a pretty full life up until something happened in his journey, and he's going to tell you what that is. He does a lot of volunteer work with Donate Life NC, Life Share of the Carolinas, Honor Bridge, and the North Carolina Transplant Athletes, where they bring awareness about the need for organ and tissue donation. I'd like to welcome you today, Mr. Darryl Ellis.
Wow, thanks again, Miss Kim. It's a real pleasure to be here. You know, and I look at it, it's very serious for me because, as you said, transplant saved my life. Without a liver transplant, I would not be here today. It's just that simple. And during the liver transplant surgery, we had some challenges and my kidney shut down. And I was on dialysis for about 16 months. So when I got a kidney transplant, that improved the quality of my life by 1,000%. And it just goes without saying.
Let me ask you a question. You say you were living a full life. Tell us what your life was like before the transplant ever even took place. And then how did you know that, oh my goodness, something's going wrong here, horribly wrong?
Well, you know, you're absolutely right. I did. I had a full life. I worked in the cruise industry. I worked aboard cruise ships for probably about 15 years. I started as a TV coordinator running the TV system aboard cruise ships. And eventually I was promoted to cruise director. And aboard cruise ships, I found my niche in life. I found what I was supposed to be doing, in contact with different people every day and fulfilling those people and helping them have a good time. That was my job, to help people have a good time. As cruise director, I was in charge of all social activities, all recreational activities, and all the entertainment activities aboard the cruise ship. So again, it was a great time. I'm
interrupting you because I can see you the way that you're leaning and everything. You're like leaning in and you're like, I was in charge of the entertainment and I was in charge of all of the fun things. So I can tell that are you like one of those kind of like Las Vegas kind of performers?
Pretty much so. But now, see, I called myself an entertainer with no talent. And I say no talent because I don't sing, I don't dance, but I was blessed with the way of reaching people, of exchanging with people. And again, my idea, I wanted to see you have a good time. I wanted to hear you say when you went home on Saturday or on Sunday, whatever day you went home, I wanted to hear you say, I had the best time of my life. You guys are absolutely wonderful. I love this. And I was willing to do, my staff, we were willing to do whatever it took to get that from you at the end of the cruise. So again, I was in my niche. That's what I was supposed to be doing. Absolutely loved it. Loved it.
Well, I feel the energy. I feel the energy right here just through the virtual experience. Where are you located, Darryl?
I'm in Winston-Salem right now. I live in Winston-Salem. I've been here
I'm in the
for
Charlotte, North Carolina area.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I've been here. I left South Florida as I started to get sick. I'm originally from North Carolina, from Shelby, North Carolina. And so that when I started to get sick, there was an urge for me to be a little bit closer to home for my support system. My support system was strong there, and I wanted to be close to them. And so since that time, I've kind of stayed here, and it's gone like that. But
Awesome.
and getting back to the cruise, I'm going to leave the cruise industry in just a moment. But I went from working on the cruise.
You can stay there for a few minutes. I think I actually feel like you're lighting up when you're talking about this cruise industry. So go ahead, take us there.
Yeah. Well, so I left the cruise working aboard cruise ships to working from the corporate office, traveling around the country, presenting to travel agents. I worked for a major cruise company. So the idea was to let travel agents know what this cruise company was doing, how we were enhancing travel agents, what we were doing for the industry. So again, it was a job that I loved. My job was to present to travel agents. I also took travel agents out on board for what we call fam cruises. We go on a week with myself and maybe 20 travel agents so that they could get a feel of what the ship was like, what the company was like. And now when they go back and sell to their clients, they knew exactly what they were talking about. Again, I loved it. That's what I was made for. And it kind of eased into this where when I found out that I found out I was going to be sick. I went to, I'm a veteran, of course, spent about 10 years in the Navy. And it's funny, a funny story I'll tell you here. I was in the Navy for 10 years. I spent 11 months aboard a ship. And so I waited until I got out of the Navy to go to the high rent district ships. So that's how the cruise ships came into play.
Well, I do want to take a moment to just say Happy Veterans Day to you, and we salute you and honor you today as well. And thank you for your wonderful service to the United States of America. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, yes, we pour that to all the veterans out there. And Andrew, I know you're back there, so also to you, sir.
Yes.
So I went, instead of going for, now that I'm working shoreside, I'm eligible for benefits from the company. But instead of buying health service, I know that I'm a veteran, so I'm going to the VA to apply for services at the VA being the Veterans Administration. So when I go to the Veterans Administration to sign up for healthcare, I have a test. It's there had been so many post-Vietnam era problems with veterans and hepatitis C. It became a required test at the VA. So in taking that required test, I learned that I had the hepatitis C virus. Now, hepatitis C, it's a virus that attacks the blood system, or it's blood-borne, and it attacks your liver. The thing with hepatitis C, it can lay dormant in your body for 20, 25 years, and you'll never know it. No symptoms or nothing. So when they first told me that I had hepatitis C, actually, I didn't believe them. I didn't believe them because, again, I didn't have any symptoms of being sick. I didn't have a headache. What are you talking about, hepatitis C? And at that time, the VA gave me the impression that people really didn't know an awful lot about hepatitis C. And at that time, they thought it was a post-Vietnam era veterans problem. But as it turned out, it wasn't a post-Vietnam era veterans problem. It's really a baby boomer problem. Baby boomers being those born between 1945 and 1965. 1 out of 30 baby boomer had hepatitis C. And I just happened to be that one in my group of 30. And I
Wow,
found
that's kind of a lot. I mean, that 1 out of 30 people end
one
up
out
with
of
hepatitis C, and you didn't. And so it was not linked to the military at all. It was linked to your generation.
to my generation, exactly. Yes.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
again, the challenge is it doesn't offer any no symptoms. Nothing is happening, but all the time it's really destroying your liver. It is what's happening. And at that time, there was only one treatment for hepatitis C. That one treatment was a drug called interferon. But interferon was not very successful, and interferon was doing some strange things to people. It was it was a bad drug. The treatment for interferon was you gave yourself an injection on Friday evening, and your body, you pretty much lost your weekend because of flu-like symptoms. You were going to be in bed for the weekend with flu-like symptoms, and Monday you kind of recovered, and then Tuesday you had to go into the office for a psychological review again, because again, it was doing some different things to people. One of the big things with interferon was depression. It was easy for people to fall into depression with interferon. And again, it wasn't very successful. And in the African American community, it was even less successful. So
Now, this
I
is his
didn't.
own experience with this particular product that he's referencing here, just so you all know that he's had this experience that he's referencing. Go ahead.
Right. Yes. I don't speak for anybody else. I'm strictly speaking for me. And again,
Right.
for those reasons, I didn't try interferon when they first told me about it. And again, I'm still at the point I'm not taking this very seriously because again, I'm not sick. I don't have a headache. I'm traveling around the country every week. I leave home on Monday morning. I catch a flight to some location. I pick up a rental car and I drive to another location the next day, do my presentation, drive to another location the next day, do my presentation. And if I'm lucky on Thursday, I get back into Miami and wait for Monday. Let's do this all again. So life is good. What are you talking about hepatitis C? After about 3 years, my friend started to kind of bother me a little bit. She said, let's go see somebody else and get a second opinion about this.
Right.
And so I went to get a second opinion, and that second opinion determined, yes, you do have hepatitis C. And because I went to an outside medical facility, there was a requirement, because this is a communicable disease, for them to report that to the Veterans Administration. So it was reported to the Veterans Administration. And at that point, I began to say, okay, let's look at this. So the hepatitis C, the treatment, interferon, was a 48-week treatment. So I started the treatment and I got into it for 26 weeks. After 26 weeks, it stopped working. My levels started to go up again. So at that point, my doctor says, okay, there's no use of continuing with this. We're going to stop. But they continued to monitor me, because one of the things about hepatitis C also causes liver cancer. But liver cancer can be cured if caught in time. And because they were monitoring me regularly, they did catch it when I had liver cancer. So I caught liver cancer, and that was cured through a process called ablation. With ablation, the tumor was basically burned out. And at that point, they began to talk about a transplant, a liver transplant. Now, a liver transplant was very new to me. I had never heard, and also I'd never heard of a transplant. I didn't know anybody who had a transplant. It's like, what do you mean? You can take somebody else's liver and put him in, I'll still live. And so it was that new to me. And once we talked about that, of course I want to try a liver transplant because I want to live. But
only you, a cruise personality, would be so eager to be like, yes, of course I want to try. Nobody's running around saying, oh, me, except for Darryl Ellis. That's the only one that I know, with a great big grin and a smile on his face. It's like, liver transplant? No, I don't know that everybody's feeling that way. But
I'm going. When can we do this? Can we do it tomorrow? Because
That's a good way to look at it, Darryl. And I like the outlook and the joy and the excitement that you bring to even your transplant experience. What I would be interested in knowing is, do you think that, or did the medical physicians actually confirm that because it was a delayed amount of time for you to get going with the hepatitis C um, diagnosis and treatments? Do they associate that with you having to have the transplant that you had to get, or no?
No, no, that was again, that is the nature of hepatitis C. Again,
Okay,
it's gonna lay dormant until it decides. And it
until
was
it
one of the
comes on.
lessons. Yes, that was one of the lessons I learned once I got my transplant and I began to do volunteer work in the community and around. The first couple of presentations I did, somebody always came to me and said they had a loved one who had died from the hepatitis C virus.
Right.
And so that reinstituted into me how important it was to talk about it and to talk about getting treatment for it. And
Wow.
so again, we go through this process. You need to have a liver transplant. And so you have to qualify to get on the list for a liver transplant. And that again was very new to me. And again, when we talk about transplants being new and donations being new, I'm sure along the way I've had driver's license, I've changed driver's license, and I'm sure that's one of the things that happens in the driver's license bureau. When you walk in and get your license, they'll ask you, do you want to be an organ donor? And I'm sure somebody's asked me along the way, and I kind of, no, don't worry about it, blah, 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 blow it off.
Right.
Well, now I take that very seriously, and I try to get into everyone else's head to take that very seriously, because that's, again, it saved my life.
That's
And it's going
right.
to save, yes, it's going to
So
save
putting
somebody
that on your
else's life.
driver's license, saying that I am signing up for organ donation. If something should happen to me, donate my organs to the next person.
To the
But there,
right.
I can tell you, in the African American community, I have several questions, but in the African American
Yes.
community, I'm only speaking for Kim. I don't know about other people, but I know about my family, some family members of mine, and they're like, "Oh no, I could be in an accident."
Right. Yes. Yes.
I don't know
And
why.
that's
It's probably a myth, but if you're in an accident, right, and then you hanging on by a thread, and then somebody see on your license that you are an organ donator, then the whole point is hopefully they'll still work hard to save you. But what if they knew somebody that needed an organ and they're like, we got
it's,
one, we got a live one.
no,
That's from
it's
the
not. And
Lifetime
that's,
movies and different stuff, right?
yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. But it's one of the things that I encounter. It's one of the things that I've had people say to me. And my argument for that is, okay, number one, let's think about it. Let's break it down. One of my friends, his favorite word, let's break this puppy down. So if
Yeah.
we break it down, you think about it. You're in an accident. Things are really bad. You're going into the emergency room. Number one, nobody's looking at your driver's license to see if you have a heart on your driver's license. That's number one. So nobody knows at that point that you are an organ donor. Number two, you're talking about doctors. Doctors have a Hippocratical oath. That oath is to save lives. That's
And
what
they
they're
do
there
fight
to do.
hard to save
They
lives. You
fight
can see it
hard
in
to save lives
everything that within their existence.
in their existence. And again, I'll speak for me. This is not all about me, but I'm telling you, I'm here today because of what doctors did, the work that doctors did to save my life. They did save my life.
God uses the doctors too, and God touches other people's hearts to donate their organs so
organs,
that
right.
people like Darryl can, or any of us, we don't know. It's only by the grace of God at that one particular moment that we are only one step away from needing an organ being donated ourselves. So we don't know when life would say we need something that's going to be.
It's very true. And I'll give you a statistic to go along with that. We talk
Please.
about organ donors and we want organ donors. You are 6 times more likely to need an organ than you are to donate an organ. So that's
Wow.
one
Put
of the
that
things.
statistic too, Cassandra, y'all. 6 times more likely to need
to
an organ
need an organ than
than
you
to
are
actually.
to donate an organ. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So that's some of the things. And I think that's that's what I feel that my purpose is. What is my purpose in life? Because I asked the question when you're going through the process of getting on the list. That getting on the list is about a year-long process. They
Okay.
go through, they check you physically. I'm talking about everything about you physically. I had to have my teeth examined. I had to have every possible examination that you can imagine to qualify to get on the list.
Mm,
There are psychological tests. There are financial test looks that you have to go
wow.
through
Okay.
because for the rest of your life, for the rest of my life, I'm on medication. And this is some expensive medication. So again, can you pay for that medication? It's sad that you have to ask that question, but it's very true. I'll jump ahead of myself for a minute and tell you about hepatitis C. I had a liver transplant. I had a kidney transplant. Then we attacked hepatitis C. Now, if you recall, it was around 2001, 2002 when I found out that I had hepatitis C. At that point, there was only one treatment available. Well, in 2015, there were probably 4, 5, maybe 6 treatments available. But those treatments, the medication, I took a pill that cost $1,500. I had to take one pill a day for 12 weeks. And you couldn't miss a day. You had to take that pill every day. So if you got into, let's say you've been taking this pill and you're 8 weeks into it and you miss a day taking that pill, now you have to start all back over again from day one to go through again. And remember, this pill is $1,500. And so that's one of the challenges that people are running into with insurance companies. Insurance companies will say, I'll cover this for 8 weeks. And again, if you get 10 weeks into that 8 weeks and miss a day, now you got to start back at number one. And the insurance company says, no, I'm covering 12 weeks. I can't start back. So that's some of the challenges, and that's the responsibility, but that has to come back to you as an individual to do what you need to do.
Wow.
Yes,
That's a
yes.
lot of stuff that you're saying, and it's extremely enlightening and insightful because I didn't even know some of the stuff that you're sharing, and I've had others come on to talk about organ donation, but I do think that with you being a recipient yourself and coming and sharing your own testimony, it does kind of pull at the heartstrings differently than having people just generally talk about it. So I really I love this perspective of things. I want to make sure that, again, we recognize our sponsors for today. Today's episode, as I've already shared, is sponsored by the Snow Legal Group, and their phone number is 704-358-0026, heavily focusing on personal injury law. So if you go and give them a call and let them know the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. Also, today's episode is sponsored by Lamb Funeral Home. Now, Lamb Funeral Home, especially when we're talking about veterans, the owner of Lamb Funeral Home, they're in the Concord, North Carolina area, but they specifically have a owner that is a veteran, and he knows all of the ins and outs of veteran benefits. So if you're an adult dependent of a veteran, or you're a spouse of a veteran, you want to give Mr. Terry Lamb and the Lamb Funeral Home a call, 704-782-3011, and they are certified in all 50 states. So keep that in mind when you're reaching out to them. I do want to, Darryl, also go to some of the studio audience comments. They are flooding in, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to recognize our important studio audience members. Jennifer, good morning to you. Glad to have you on. And you can feel free, Mr. Darryl, to answer or comment on anything. Paulette said good morning to you.
Oh, good morning.
Okay, good morning to you. Is this Mary? Mary, good morning. Good morning, Valerie Harris. Thank you to all of the veterans. Yes, thank you to everyone that served. We appreciate your service. Thank you for your wonderful service to the United States of America. Let's see. Thank you all for your comments that's coming in, and make sure you tag some more friends and family and invite them to be a part of today's broadcast. Oh, Mary says that I am an organ donor and this is stated on my license. Wow.
That's fantastic. I want to acknowledge her for a second. She's a very good friend of mine. And I have a story. one of the things when I first started doing my presentations, I was so happy that I had gotten a transplant. And when I tell my story, I would always tell just the good side, the upside of it. But everything is not an upside. Everything is not the good side. We go through this process of qualifying to get on the list. And one of the things to remember about qualifying to get on the list, my doctor, again, this is a year-long process. So I became pretty good friends with my doctor. And I would ask them about, why are we going through all of this? And my doctor shared with me that every year there's a request for 16,000 livers. And we have 6,000 livers available. So when you qualify to get on that list, you're saying that I am going to take care of this organ. I'm going to guard this organ. And I can't afford to just be nilly-willy with it. I can't afford to not take care of it because there's somebody else over there who possibly would take care of this organ. So that's very, very important. And Maria, I had a friend, she and I worked together at the cruise line in Florida. And she knew everything that I was going through. And she touched base with me. She says, I have a friend who has a friend who's going through the same thing. He needs a liver, he needs a kidney. Do you mind if I share your story? I know what you've been through. I know how successful you've been. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh no, it's okay.
And I said, sure, of course. And she talked to the other person, the young lady, and I got to know the young man through them. And I'm gonna guesstimate a 6-month, 8-month period. This gentleman was having a difficult time. And finally I get a note from her that says, they found a liver, they found a kidney. And he went into surgery at this time and everything fit, everything worked. And he's in the surgery and he's going to get his liver, he's going to get his kidney. His life is going to be great again. And 2 hours into the surgery, he died on the table. So it doesn't always work well. And I don't take this for granted that I've gotten a transplant, that my life is good. And it's one of the reasons that I volunteer. It's one of the reasons that I reach out to people. I'm blessed. I have most of those names that you called out there. Those are my friends. They're my support system. I have a great support system, and that's the most important thing that you have to have. But I will never forget that young man and his support system, the joy they felt when finally they found the liver, they found the kidney. He's going into surgery, and 2 hours into surgery, he died on the table. Yeah.
That's just
It brings it back again to the reality of what it is.
so you definitely value this opportunity to be amongst the land of the living with the transplants that successfully worked in your life. And you also have obviously empathy and compassion for those that have transitioned on because it did not work, and whatever the reason it didn't work. So
Right, yeah.
Marie, thank you so much. Mari, thank you for being on, and thank you for bringing out this level of a story from our guest today. I'm really glad that you're in the studio audience. Valerie, you said that you are also a donor as well, so thank you for being a donor. And thank you all that are here today tuning in. We're going to be talking more with Darryl Ellis. Let me see what other comments came in. Okay, so I said we're going to go to some of your studio audience questions and comments. And I think there's a question as well. What have you learned about organ donation in terms of the ratio of donors to donees?
That's there's always more need for donors. There are, and I want to get my paper here because I want to get this number correct. There are approximately 117,000, over 117,000 people nationally who are waiting on the waiting list for an organ.
Over 117,000?
Over 117,000 people who are waiting on the list. That's nationally, nationwide. Now, here in North Carolina, there are over 3,500 people who are waiting on the list for an organ. Let's take it a little bit further.
That's crazy.
Most of those people who are waiting for a kidney. Of that 117,000 who are waiting on the national list, 97,000 of those are waiting for a kidney.
Now when you're waiting, because I don't know the answer to this, but I've heard that it's like this sense of urgency. The time the kidney or the organ, whatever it is available, people have to hop a flight immediately and get where they got to go. What is that? That's not a myth. That's true, right?
That's not a myth. That is true. Yes, and I'll share my story of how I went through with the transplant process. But again, just the numbers for right now.
Okay. So let's break it down.
Yeah.
Numbers, and then after the commercial break, tell us about your transplant process.
Yes.
So go back to the numbers.
So numbers again, nationally, over 117,000 people are waiting. Over 97,000 of those people are waiting for a kidney. Again, breaking it down, 1/3 of those people, 35% of them, are African American who are waiting for a kidney. That's nationwide. Here in North Carolina, over 3,500 are waiting for an organ. 3,100 are waiting for a kidney. And here in North Carolina, 60% of those are African American. So that's what the numbers are.
Wow. Well, we're going to be popping lots of statistics in the comment section. And I see you, Cassandra and Andrew, getting those together for us backstage. Thank you both so much for everything that you're doing. These are alarming numbers. And again, that many people are waiting for kidneys to become available. But I've also heard you say that a lot of people are not willing to donate their kidneys as a person that would say, hey, I'm willing to be a donor in this situation. So as the numbers are far skewed,
Right. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So when we come back from this commercial break, we're going to talk more with Darryl Ellis, who is kind enough to come on and tell us about his transplant process. And we're going to hear exactly what that entails right after this commercial break. I see some more of your comments coming in, and I will get to those throughout today's broadcast. Today's episode is also sponsored by Hunter Everidge Law Firm. So if you're dealing with a family member that's experienced a wrongful death of no fault of their own, or disability claim that you may have been denied for through SSI or short-term disability, whatever the case may be, make sure that you reach out to Hunter Everidge Law Firm and let them get a chance to serve you.
When someone has lost a loved one, they want to know what exactly happened. They want to know, is the other person going to be held responsible? And they want closure. At Hunter and Everidge, we help clients that have lost a loved one move on, and to do that with dignity and respect that they deserve.
All right, we are back with Darryl Ellis, and he is sharing it's a delightful story and an enlightening story and heart-wrenching story. And, this man is a veteran that had full of life, was living his best life, did not know that anything was wrong with him at all, cruising across the world, and unbeknownst to him was living with hepatitis C that was causing a problem underneath the surface. Actually, in a book that I'm a collaborating author on is a book called This Is How I Fight My Battles. It's on kimjacobshow.com by Kanisi Twaru, and it's like 14 of us as authors. In my chapter, I talk about what lies beneath. We don't know what lies beneath in people's lives in our journey, what minefields and battles and things that we have to encounter and endure. So what was lying beneath him was hepatitis C. Who knew that that was going to change the outcome of his entire life? So take us on the journey of when you had to get your transplant and what that process was like.
Right. Well, I had been going to, again, I'm still going through the process of qualifying to get on the list. And then I'm going back and forth to Richmond, Virginia, at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, because that's the hospital that the VA uses for liver transplants.
Right.
And I had been up, I think, like on a Thursday. And I get a message on Monday that I needed to go back to do an MRI. Now, at this point, I can't drive. I'd stopped driving. We're talking, this is January. I had stopped driving in August because I just didn't have the energy. My health started to really go down. I first started to feel that I was going to school. I had to leave school because I didn't have the energy to go. I didn't have any life in me. One of the things that was happening to me, my stomach started to swell up. I had fluid that was gathering around my midsection. The first time it happened, I had so much fluid, you feel like you're going to burst. So I go to the hospital and they take 3 liters of fluid off me. And that just, oh my God, 3 liters of fluid. And again, we're talking liters. You know, when you go to the store and you buy a liter of soda, 3 of those came off of me. But they told me also at that time that, well, we can only legally take 3 from you. The next time you go, please go to the VA and let them do it. So the next time I went to the VA pulled off 8 liters of fluid. And so that's how quickly fluid was gathering on me. Every 3 or 4 weeks, I needed to go to the VA, and they were pulling as much as 8 liters of fluid off me. So now I'm going back and forth to Richmond, and I get to Richmond. I'm going to Richmond for what I think is an MRI. And I get there, and my coordinator says to me, I'm going to admit you today. And I argued with her. I
You
have
argued
to
after getting 8 liters of fluid?
Yeah, this is,
What
you
in the
know,
world?
that was kind of her reaction too.
What, you gonna fuss? You get yourself in here right now.
I argued with her for 20 minutes. I don't have time to be in the hospital. I got to go. I got things to do. What is wrong with you? And she just kind of stood there and looked at me. And finally she said to me, she said, you don't understand how sick you are. I need to be able to monitor you 24 hours a day. And that kind of got my attention. Okay, so I went into the hospital that day, and one of the things, again, one has to appreciate your support system. And just for a second, I'm gonna go back to support system because they'll tell you as soon as you start the process of qualifying to get on the list, you have to have a strong support system. You can't do this by yourself. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, of course, I got many friends, man. My friends that come check on me, they'll see about me. If I need a ride to the hospital, I'm sure somebody will give me a ride to the hospital. And my doctor says, no, you don't understand. I mean somebody who's going to be with you every day, who's going to take care of you, and somebody who's committed to this. You have to have that because, again, you can't do this by yourself. And I'm here to echo that again. You can't do this by yourself. And so now I'm in.
So you're not married, no children or anything at that time?
No, I'm not. I live with my friend, and my hat is off to my friend. I give my friend the utmost respect because no, we're not married. We've been together for a while, but she did not have to stay to go through that. She just could have walked out and said, I didn't sign up for this. I'm not into this. But she didn't. She didn't. She walked through all of that with me. And when when they admitted me to the hospital in Richmond. It was January.
You can't just keep talking, Darryl. Wait. You can't just, I'm sorry. Okay, wait a minute. Now, I do this to Cassandra all the time, right? I pull her on the screen. I'm not pulling her on today, but since you backstage, Andrew, you go come on for a minute. You getting popped on. So you say something. Say something. Yes. Say something. I gotta take a break.
Thank you, Darryl. You're sharing a great story.
Go ahead, you say something.
I would like to know, when you went through the process, what was one of the things that you learned that resonated the most with you, if you can pick any one singular?
I think, Andrew, the thing and this was after the fact. I think there's something in us that you just keep going. You don't know how sick you are until you get to that point that somebody says, hey, you don't understand. Again, when I argued with that lady, my nurse practitioner, standing by an elevator, I don't have time to go in the hospital. I got things to do. And at that point, in reality, I was on my last leg. My liver was shutting down. But there's just something in us that says, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. That's the biggest thing that I foresaw. And probably the second biggest thing that I saw was kind of after the fact. One of the things, again, I realized once I got the transplant and I began to feel a little better, God, I knew how sick I was. Oh my gosh, now I'm feeling better. And that's all I could think about, how great it feels to feel better again. And I was watching a TV show one night, and that TV show being Chicago Med. And in this particular episode, there was the theme was a young lady who was a police officer, was an organ donor. And she got killed in a freak accident, wasn't on duty, got out of a car to check the mail at the mailbox. The car rolled back, run over. Well, she's an organ donor, but her husband didn't want to donate her organs. And they had to instill in him, no, sir, that is a legal binding document that she signed. We must honor that. By law, she signed to be an organ donor. We have to honor that. And at that point, I realized that somebody had passed away and had to donate an organ to me. I didn't realize it until I saw that another family had gone through some challenges of losing someone so that I could live, so that I could have life. And I think that's one of the things that comes back to me. I have to protect this organ. I have to honor that person who made that decision to be a donor.
Yeah. You know, Darryl, I think it's a tough discussion and topic, and a lot of people will avoid just the mere discussion of something like this. But it's important. It's something that we need to know or talk about so that others might benefit. And I'll tell you, I'll share a personal story with me. Is my daughter was my oldest daughter was a donator, and it actually gave me some comfort knowing that part of her is still among us. And I can't describe the feeling that you get with just knowing that, if you've ever gone through that kind of personal situation. But I think the information you're sharing is great. And if you would, I know you want to transition to LifeShare, but tell us a little bit about LifeShare and how you became involved in that.
It was one of the things, I'd gone through this process for over a year with my doctor getting ready. And my doctor looked at me one day and he says, I noticed you want to be a motivational speaker. He says, you might not be a motivational speaker doing this, but here's a great opportunity to help someone else. And it's working with the organizations with LifeShare, with the Donate Life, with the Honor Bridge here, the transplant athletes, working with them. And I began working with LifeShare out of Charlotte because, again, I'm from Shelby, and Shelby is my home. and my support system in Shelby kind of saw me go through the process. I started to gravitate back home a little bit, and I think some other things happen in our lives that lead us along the way. My uncle that I grew up with, who raised me, was 92 years old when I first started to go back home, and he was living by himself, and people thought, well, he's having dementia, he's going through dementia now, and he can't take care of himself, so he needs to come. And he wasn't really going through dementia; that he was alone 22 hours a day. And I said, if I were alone 22 hours a day, I'd be a little bit off center too. So I started to go back home a little bit more, being with him, kind of helping him out, taking care of him. And then when he passed away after a few years, my mother was sick. My mother had lung cancer. So I was going back home again on a regular basis, seeing about my mother, taking care of my mother. So again, it kind of put me back in that home of being with my support system again. And I knew that LifeShare was in Charlotte. So working through LifeShare gave me the opportunity to touch the people at home. And again, they saw me go through it. They saw me when I was kicking. They saw me growing up. I'm live, blah, blah. But they slowly saw me get sick. And then they saw me when I walked out. And here's a big deal. My regular weight, I was rolling at about 205. Life was good, boom, boom, boom. As I started to get sick, I started to lose weight a little bit. I went into surgery for the liver transplant at about 185 pounds. I came out of surgery at 135 pounds. So I was in Richmond at the hospital for about 4 months. So when I came home, the first thing I wanted to do was I had to go to church. And I went to church, and again, 135-pound person walked in the doors and down the aisle, and somebody had to help me down the aisle and help me get up. And then after a while, they saw me start to come back. They saw the life started to come back in him, and it's like, he's coming back, he's coming back. So when you see that process go through that makes a believer out of you. You start to understand. And so that's how I began to work with LifeShare. Miss Kate is absolutely wonderful.
Kate McCullough.
She gives me, yes, she gives me the opportunity. If I find an opportunity, run with it, Darryl. I'll give you all the support you need.
She came up with a very good person to do it. I can't think of a more interesting presenter of that information. And I don't mean to cut across you, but tell us how, if anyone in the audience wanted to find out more about the program, or is there a website, or where would they go to learn more?
Yes, LifeShare of the Carolinas.org, O-R-G. Donate Life, which is here in Winston-Salem and throughout the eastern part of North Carolina. DonateLifeNC.org. And one of the
DonateLifeNC.org. Let me put this up here. Cassandra, type that backstage for me. DonateLifeNC.org.
Yes.
Okay. And also, we're putting, if you want to know more information about LifeShare as well, you can definitely go to LifeShareCarolinas.org as well. And then we did have Representative Lisa Allen Gaither come on about 2 weeks or so ago. Lisa.Allen Gaither at LifeShareCarolinas.org. Make sure that you let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you this way, and that you heard Darryl Ellis's episode. Okay, Lisa Allen Gaither Gaither and
Kate McCullough as well.
And Kate McCullough as well,
yes,
who was a part of the actual conversation that we had. So we'll put all of their information as well.
Now, I want to mention one other, excuse me, Ms. Kim. I want to mention one other organization also, and it's organization. We're the Transplant Athletes of North Carolina, and what we do, it's called the Transplant Games of America, and the Transplant Games of America, I call them mini Olympics because it's just like Olympics. Every 2 years, you've got track and field events, you've got cycling, basketball, there's volleyball, pickle when you throw that little thing, that little sack into the whole ballroom dancing. But what that is a festive event of organ recipients, donor families, and those who work in the donation transplant community to come together and just have a festive event. I went to the first one in 2018 in Salt Lake City, and I got to tell you, it is one of the most awesome things that I've ever done, I've ever been to. It basically says there is life after transplant. And we had approximately 10,000 people. So when you've got 10,000 organ recipients, 10,000 donor families that come together on one accord, it's fantastic. I tell you, I put it in the top 5 of anything I've ever done in my life. So we ask you for your support for that. Again, we're the North Carolina Transplant Athletes. We're getting ready this year to go to San Diego. We're going to San Diego in July of 2022. So we're excited about that. And again, it's an opportunity. There are people who've been to the transplant games from every 2 years they happen. So back as far as 2012, they've been and continue to go. And so again, we're getting ready to go to San Diego. We're real excited about going to San Diego in 2022.
Sounds great. Is there does those organizations provide for speakers to come to groups or churches or anything like that?
Yeah, yes, we do. Yes, we do. And it's just like LifeShare. LifeShare of the Carolinas, you would reach through Kate if you wanted to have a speaker. The North Carolina Transplant Athletes, we have a website. Our website is nctalife.org. From our website, if you request a speaker, someone to tell you about the things that we're doing, we'll be happy to come out and spread.
Could you give us that website again? We have some folks listening in on a podcast, and they like to maybe avail themselves of the information.
Right. Yes, of course. Our website again is nctalife. That's all one word. nctalife.org.
Excellent.
And again, all our information is there. Of course, there is Donate Life NC. I work very closely with them. You know, the one thing that you'll find in the transplant donation community, we all work very well together because our entire mission is about getting out the word of the importance of and the need for organ, eye, and tissue donation. That's all we do. We don't do anything else.
And you know what, Andrew, you're doing such a great job. You're going to stay right on the screen for the rest of this broadcast. See, Cassandra, I do let you get off the hook, but still with Andrew and Cassandra's going like this, like y'all can have that.
You make me backstage. Well, I did have another question for you too, Darryl.
See, that's what I said, Andrew.
I was just wondering, what are some of the myths about this whole transplant, topic? And what have you discovered, and what's your answer to some of those myths?
I probably the first myth and the number one myth is that if I go to the hospital and they see that I have a heart on my license, they're not going to try to save me. They're going to give my organs to somebody else. And again, my first thing for them is when you're sick, when you're like that, nobody's looking at your license, number one. And number two, the doctors, they're professionals. They have a Hippocratic oath to live up to. And next, can you think of the conspiracy level that you'd have to go through to do that, to accomplish that? So you're talking about, you got doctors, you got nurses, you have to get it. The janitor has to be in on that. So that's not going to happen. Probably the next.
You're trying to make light of it, but I'm serious. It's a real myth out here.
It is. I see it I see every time I go out. It's one of the things that we have to get through. One of the other myths is that people are being kidnapped and their organs are being stolen. And my question for people, because again, you're right, Kim. People take these things seriously. When they say that, they mean that. And so my question to them is, okay, do you know anybody who's had a family member or friend who's been kidnapped and find them with their organs missing. I said, well, no, I
No.
don't know anybody. Well,
But
I
we've seen a
know.
lot of, I've seen some movies now.
Yeah,
Yes.
but see, I know real people, hundreds of people whose lives have been saved or their lives have been enhanced because someone made that decision to donate an organ to them. So
I agree. I
that's
do
what
know
I
people that
compare with
have been
that.
saved because of that.
Right. Yes. And those are probably the two most. And some of it, I know where it comes from. I'm old enough to know the first thing we throw out is, well, remember Tuskegee. It's a different situation
Yes.
from
Yes.
Tuskegee. I understand.
That's
We
good.
have
Good.
with the women's situation here in North Carolina, where so many women were sterilized. I understand. I'm not going to
Right.
downplay that at all.
Of
However,
course not.
again, I'm telling you because I'm one of those people that there are hundreds of people, there are thousands of people who are
Right.
being helped because of organ donation, because of
That's
tissue
good.
donation. And so those are my arguments for them. And again, I try to base that on fact. That's all I can do. I'll
Hey,
give you the information.
Darryl, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. You bring a lot of energy and a lot of great information. And I know you're a better person. And then all that wrapped up together. We're winding down now for a time, and I know Kim likes to close out with anything, but is there anything that you'd like to impart as we sign off?
You know, again, I reach out to you to say, if you haven't registered to be an organ or tissue donor, please register to do that. And when you register, have conversation with your family. Let your family know that you've made that decision to do that. And don't wait. You might think that, okay, I'll do it next week. Let me think about it. You might get into a situation where you don't have the opportunity to do. So don't leave that on your family to make that decision. Make that decision yourself, because when that time comes, your family's going to have enough problems going. And I don't want to call them problems, but they're going to be emotional enough because they just lost a loved one. So now don't put it on them too to have to make a decision. Do we donate their organs or not? Make that decision early and let your family know that you've made that decision.
Thank you, Darryl. And I just want to say it's been an excellent show. You've been a great guest, and I do hope you come back again. Just reach out.
And as you can see, we have a great team member here on the Kim Jacobs Show. You all don't get a chance to experience a lot of the back office team members, but right here is Mr. Andrew Roberts, who is a veteran. He's also a father, a husband, a dog granddaddy, and a whole bunch of other hats that he wears. And he's also a valued member here of the Kim Jacobs Show team. He's an actor, and he's been in multiple performances that are some controversial performances. Blessed Assurance, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, 12 Angry Jurors. He's an actor at heart here in his senior years. And so I'm really glad to have you on with us too, Andrew.
And also, Ms. Kim, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Andrew, I want to thank you. Andrew and I connected a couple of weeks ago on another program. So, Andrew, thank you very much, sir. Well, Ms. Kim, thank you so much for having me as a guest and giving me the opportunity to share my story and to talk with you.
We could not have had a better experience learning about your story and your journey. It has been a true pleasure and delight. And listen, everyone, in order for the programming that you see to continue every weekday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, it requires the support and online contributions from community members like yourselves, from sponsors, from people that just believe in this original program content. So here are some ways for you to support the Kim Jacobs Show. Do so this week. We already had a few people that have already started pouring into the show. This allows us to keep the show going every single day, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So here are some ways that you can support through online contributions. And we don't take it for granted. We appreciate your belief in the program and your support. This is the only way it exists. So thank you. All right. So listen, everybody, I am grateful that we've had Mr. Darryl Ellis on. I do want to pop a few pictures up because he's a grateful man and I'm honored. He said he really appreciates and is very thankful for being a transplant recipient. And he is a double transplant recipient. Which organs did you get donated?
I have a liver and a kidney.
A liver and a kidney. And he also, this was just another photo. I see you on your motorcycle. So tell us about that right quick.
That's my motorcycle. That's my running buddy. A quick story. I when I came out of surgery, I sold my car because I just knew I wasn't going to be around wasn't going to be able to drive it for a while. But I kept the motorcycle. That was my incentive to get well.
Wow. Okay, well, I want to, I'm so glad that you kept that because I'm sure that's your motivating factor. And I'm sure you get to ride it now at some points, right?
Yes, I do.
I do want to also just acknowledge that we have another person that I personally know, which is Mother Julia Harper. She's 83 years old and is the longest living recipient of a heart transplant.
Wow.
This woman that is listening to her heart is the mother of the 16-year-old boy that had his heart donated over 20 years ago to Mother Julia Harper. So this organ donation thing is real and it's saving lives and is bringing people together like these two people. And every year they meet just so that she can hear her son's heartbeat in Mother Julia Harper's heart. Chest. Look at that. Now you can't beat that. You can't that stuff right there. You can't get on no Lifetime movie right there. This right here is based on a real life event. Thank you, Mother Harper. Thank you to this young man's mother for staying involved in Mother Harper's life. Thank you, Mr. Darryl Ellis, for being here today. And thank you, Andrew, for being a great member of the Kim Jacobs Show team. Thank you, Cassandra, as well, for all that you do and the entire Kim Jacobs Show staff. All right, listen, I can't, let me see, I know it's so many comments and people were saying things. I hope I tried to get as many in as I could. Somebody said that also, Jennifer says, Donate Life South Carolina is also an organization that you can select as your recipient for donations when you shop on Amazon. All right. Speaking of Amazon, use smile.amazon and select Gabe's Heart Foundation in honor of my son that passed away, and we'll get a small percentage. Smile.amazon.com for all your purchases. And select Gabe's Heart Foundation. Thanks so much for sharing your story. As African Americans, we are the largest group of transplant lists and most difficult to match. I volunteer with North Carolina, Donate Life, and Life Share. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for coming on today. All right. I didn't want to leave anybody's comments off. I think there were so many comments, though, that I don't think I got to all of them. So just know that we appreciate, it's your honor. It says your honor. Oh, somebody said, Jennifer said, my sorority sister was on dialysis for 10 years and was blessed with getting a kidney transplant. Her body rejected it. Several years later, she had another kidney transplant and it was and still is successful. Thank you for sharing that, Jennifer.
Yes.
All right. A great guest today with great information. Hugs, my friend. Okay, guys. Good morning from Auntie. Thanks, y'all. Abigail. I know Abigail would have been like, you better, she better not get off that show without recognizing the Auntie Abigail on here. I'm going to call her in and tell her something. I got to you, Abigail. Okay. Good morning. Let's get off the screen, y'all. We got to get ready to go, but I am so grateful. I see you. So am I. I see you. You're okay. All right, everybody. I'll try to pop them up as we're closing out today's show. You'll see your comments still popping up there if there are any. Darryl, you are amazing. Thank you. Great job. Deborah Edwards said, thank you for being here. And great. Valerie said, hugs, Darryl, hugs. Tomorrow, we have a veteran that's going to be here on the Kim Jacobs Show. And she's all that. Look at Dr. Constance. She said that she's a retired U.S. Army veteran. And she said, it's a call to duty. Tune in at 11 o'clock a.m. on your Veterans Day right here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Again, I salute you two veterans and thank you for all that you do and all of the veterans in the world. We appreciate what you've done here representing the United States of America. Have a great day, Mr. Darryl.
Thank you. You have a great day yourself. Thank you so much. Andrew.
Stay backstage. I want to talk to you. Andrew, thank
right.
you. And we're going to close out, everybody. Have a great one. See you at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, right here on the Kim Jacobs Show. everyone. I'm Kim Jacobs, host of The Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world one household at a time. Listen, we go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bring guests on that talk about their backstories, things that they've had to overcome to become who they are today. Many of them are balancing and juggling life, and they've become experts in different fields. So they're sharing tips with you to make your life just a little bit easier. Many times as a guest in the studio audience, you'll get a chance to walk away with a missing piece of the puzzle that might be missing in your life. Let's go on this journey together, and I look forward to seeing you Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on The Kim Jacobs Show.